Hey, what's up, everyone? You are listening or watching an episode of my Comic Book Journey podcast. I'm your host, KNDY, and today we shall go back to the year 1965 with adventure comics featuring Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. Definitely one of my favorite titles growing up. When I was a kid, I used to read these little digests that they would have from the grocery stores that would collect these issues of adventure comics featuring Superboy and Legion of Superheroes, and it's one of the reasons why I am a big fan of the Legion of Superheroes. It was what I grew up with, grew up reading it. It was something that was easily accessible because you had a lot of comic stores, comic book shops. They had the old school way of putting in newsstands, and my gosh, I don't know how many bent books or ripped books there were, but one thing you can depend on is that these comics were like in digest format, were small but readable, not very difficult to see, easy to read. Um, but yeah, you would get a lot of Legion of Superheroes and Superboy, and I think it's one of the reasons why it was a shock to see what would happen to Superboy later. Uh, Thanks to your modern writers for that. But anyway, this is the Adventure Comics issue 334 from DC Comics from July 1960. Let's see here, 65, right? Yeah, July 1965. And pretty much with this one, back in 1958, with Adventure Comics issue 247, uh, writer Otto Binder and artist Al Plastino would change the storyline for the series by featuring Superboy with the Legion of Superheroes. So popular that the incorporation of the Legion of Superheroes would last more than 100 issues until issue 380, which would later primarily feature Supergirl. These are stories I remember fondly growing up, and I talked about the digest versions, and also just kicking back as a kid, reading them in my grandparents' home. And no matter how cheesy or predictable the storylines were back then, I absolutely loved each issue. Let's go ahead and show some artwork from this one. Okay, here we go. There we go. That is classic right there. But yeah, with issue 334, it was an issue I found quite predictable. But the storyline featured Brainiac 5, Chameleon Boy, Cosmic Boy, Mon-El, Phantom Girl, and Saturn Girl, Sun Boy, Superboy, and Supergirl together. As Superboy and the Legion are visiting the planet Antares, they see a statue of the Unknown Boy, and the group reminisce of their first encounter with that person. Supergirl had to go back home as Linda Lee Danvers and had to return to Stanhope College in the 20th century. Meanwhile, the science police informed the Legion that Dr. Norm Eldor has escaped prison. As the group headed to the planet Antares, they remember seeing the Proteans disguised as people. And for those of you who are not familiar with Proteans, think of it like looking like clay-like structure or thing, and it can pretty much disguise itself and become anybody, right? So, they were learning that the Protean characters are serving and protecting Dr. Shifting. So the group teams up to figure out who is friend or foe, but out of nowhere, the Unknown Boy comes out of nowhere and drives the Proteans from causing harm to the Legion, but making sure the person doesn't kill them. This leads to Superboy trying to figure out who the Unknown Boy is because the person has strength like Superboy and can see through his lead helmet. But how will the Superboy and the Legion stop the Proteans being led by Dr. Eldor? So this is a second storyline. It looks like a reprint of a classic Superman story, and those stories and were entertained as a child. a wholesome superhero story. Adventure Comics was my go-to for DC Comics as a kid. Each year I visited a comic convention, or saw some swap meet or something. I would purchase these in the dollar bins. The stories are just so awesome. But there are on them this available for Legion of Superheroes. I definitely recommend that. You can get those on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. But so I'm kind of curious now. I'm gonna check online. I wonder if they actually reveal who Unknown Boy is. Yeah, I am wondering, who did he reveal himself to be? Oh, okay. um, okay, I'm not gonna ruin. I guess this character was. Let's see here. Yeah. So this issue right here is the first appearance of Unknown Boy, but again, you get to find out the following issue who the person really is, and surprisingly, it is. Nah, not gonna spoil it for you all. But definitely check it out. Definitely check it out. And yeah, you all take care, and I'll see you later. Wink, wink, and take care, everyone. Bye bye.